Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Secretary General and all the other representatives of the crop agencies. Thank you for this invitation. I'm currently in the mode of budget, so I can only see figures at the moment, but I've had to extricate myself from that. I'd just like to make a few comments in respect of not necessarily only focusing on COP26, but in fact the way forward. In the recent meeting in Bonn that was held where our officials attended. And of course, we have been concerned about the black cloud that seems to be hovering over COP27, which was indirectly referred to by the Secretary General. Post-COVID-19, we have seen significant backsliding in terms of global ambition, and this is a fact. We have seen issues such as the accelerating global fuel and food crisis, which should be providing the rationale and justification to accelerate collective action from the developed world, being now recast and presented as inhibitors to more robust action. The global community faces major challenges when it comes to the ability of the Paris Agreement to assure and enable consistent and adequate support and resourcing for climate-vulnerable nations. While developed countries may have the technology, the financial reserves, the diversified economies to stave off major nationwide disruptions, the Global South does not. The backdrop for COP26 was the failure of developed countries to deliver against the $100 billion a year target for climate finance. This pledge was made a decade ago and was due to be achieved by 2020. Developed countries have overshot this deadline. At the same time, these same countries maintain the fossil fuel subsidies and energy investments, which will cause us to overshoot the 1.5 degree goal. The 2020 finance goal was achievable, and the failure to reach it in a timely fashion only increases aggregate financing needs, gaps, and indeed deficits. It also directly exacerbates the issue of loss and damage. At COP26, we welcomed the UK's efforts to consult widely and recognize the efforts to help move loss and damage from a taboo to a talking point. At Bonn recently, we had the ability to debunk some of these misconceptions around loss and damage. We will continue to press on an agenda point to help ensure that the conceptualization, the political attention, financing, and overall global commitment to address loss and damage is given form and process. We need to be clear on what we want and what we understand to be in scope when it comes to addressing loss and damage. It is critical that we are clear on what we are asking for in terms of form and in terms of processes. We are concerned about the trajectory and potential for the loss and damage issue to be progressed within the context of COP27. As a result, it is clear we need to use a united and strategic approach to influence our partners and those parties that are opposed to recognizing loss and damage formally under UNFCCC. Ocean and climate change dialogue that took place in Bonn on the 11th of June was the first mandated oceans event under the UNFCCC process. This is the first iteration of this annual dialogue, which provides a space in which we as large ocean states have the ability to influence and strengthen ocean-based action under UNFCCC. The call to blue NDCs and ensure oceans are part of our long-term strategies is one we must sustain. If we do not decarbonize the shipping center, create climate-resilient fisheries, develop aquaculture and ocean-based renewable energy, we run the risk of missing a major opportunity to protect both our oceans and our economies. We will continue to require broad participation to unlock financing to support our oceans. This includes the need to increase private sector engagement, scale up funding for oceanic research, and using capital markets to scale up investment. We want to see strong reference to the ocean in COP27 outcome. The venue in Sharm el-Sheikh will be moments away from Egypt's premier dive sites and marine reserves, and we should encourage the incoming presidency to work with us in the lead up to COP27 in this space. Finally, we recognize that despite the shift to implementation, that the negotiations are not over. The Paris rulebook is in place, but the major emitters continue to need to be reminded that 1.5 degrees is not a preference, but a guardrail. Thank you.